start. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Workshop. A very long overdue episode of The Workshop. We're going to try to get better with this, life, school, other bullshit that gets in the way of, ain't that the truth? That gets in the way of this. We actually have a special kind of guest here. Hopefully that he will be in more episodes in the future. I mean, who knows? Name is Sal.
I could die the next week. You never know.
Exactly. Sal, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Sal. I'm a childhood friend to Bowser. We met online, of course. We went through a lot of old school Destiny 1 raids and the likes. Grew up together. And actually ended up meeting for the first time about
Xbox
a couple of years ago. Right?
Yeah, it was one of those stories where like you meet someone on Xbox Live and then you think, hey, will I actually ever meet up with this person in real life? And lo and behold, we did. First time in New York City, and I'm a guy being from the Midwest where it's always cold. It's kind of mild weather. It's not so bad. And here I am in the New York City heat with a leather jacket.
And wearing a fucking leather jacket.
Yeah.
In the middle of summer. 80-degree weather.
Sweating.
In Manhattan, too, with those fucking skyscrapers and shit.
Yeah. It was kind of bad. It was bad. But no, man, I'm glad that you're on, dude. I'm glad you're on the show. I think
it's good to be here.
I think it's going to be a good one. So, I think a really big topic that we were just talking about before we started recording is you have a very hot topic where you think you should be wealthy to have kids in general. Now, one thing I want to pull up interesting, because while you were getting ready for this, I was looking at this statistic. This comes from the website called The Balance. It's from 21. But Tyler reads, don't become a parent until you've hit these money milestones. And I highlight this quote where it says, raising children comes with a hefty price tag. The U.S. Department of Agriculture estimates the average cost of raising one child from birth to age 17 and who was born in 2015 to be $233,000.
Definitely more now.
Yes, the inflation ticket. Yeah. So
in this recession we're heading into right now, we are, but for everybody listening, we are entering a recession. Just letting you know.
So I think this figure is like more into 300,000, but I really am curious. Like when you say wealthy,
and this is only till 17, right? They calculate like presumably most people are still living with their parents. I don't know the statistics behind it, but anecdotally at least, it's very common for people to be living with their parents till their mid-20s. Honestly, so this is way under proportion in my opinion.
I think it's like taking a very baseline. It's like, hey, because legally you don't need to have a kid in your house. Like with you could just go out at 18, and I'm thinking that's where they're trying to gain this figure from. But
existence is expensive.
That's true. It costs money to just do anything, but they talk about having a disposable income, having a stable career, emergency fund, contribute to your retirement, be able to save for college. And I think this is interesting because from my perspective and from the environments I've been in, the environments I've seen, a lot of people are having kids with that not being the case. Now, however, those families, not to say are like dysfunctional or bad. I mean, they
will run into problems one way or another.
Well, when you say problems, like, what do you mean by that?
I mean, like, it depends, right? Like, are these friends of yours, right? Do they own property? Are they still renting? Are they like? There's a bunch of things we need to consider, but it's just like from just like an overview, I would expect a rational family to like at least have some sort of property where they can like property that where they can like raise their child, like you don't want to, with starting a family, you need to set up like a sort of base of operations for that child to really flourish, right? If you're constantly moving and displacing the kid, like that just fucks up with their whole development, their education, and all of that stuff, right? And just having like a house, at least like paid off too, or close to being paid off, can really help. Um,
So that
house,
interests.
house house ownership is also just another can of worms because houses aren't being built as much and they're way expensive now. I mean, just to let you know, like in my circumstance, like I work in the financial services in the industry, and I have these boomers literally commuting from Pennsylvania, right, Connecticut, upstate, right, 2 hour commutes to go to their place of work, right? It's insane. Things are starting to become more sprawled out, like just hard to really find a good source of income that can sort of supplement paying your mortgage and stuff like that.
When do you think all this started happening, in your perspective? Like, do you think it's like
I think the
always?
2008 crash was definitely a big part of all of this. That's when things started to fucking blow up, right? Because the whole concept of like credit default swaps wasn't invented until the 2008 crash occurred, right?
Assuming that's
Like
fair,
I
yeah.
think I think like there was this one insurance company that just essentially calculated and amassed all sorts of mortgages right across the country and lumped it up together and sold it. And like they didn't care if you had a good credit score or a bad credit score, right? Like it was all just lumped in together, and so it just fucking boomed. And people couldn't pay their shit.
I because yeah, you're funny. They were handing out mortgages willy nilly. I mean, they really were. I think it's interesting because you have a lot of people who are in situations like one bed, two bed apartments. Like a good example, I'm not going to name names, but someone I know, um, they are in a townhouse. I think it's a two-bed townhouse. They have a kid. Both of them have to work, and they have to put the kid through daycare. And the kid is a child. Like it's literally a baby in daycare, and they have complained how they are unable to be with a kid a lot of times.
Yep,
We are
that's a
seeing
big
a
concern.
trend that where like let's if we can look at it historically, if I'm correct, the nuclear family was father went to work, the mother was able to stay home and take care of the kids. And I think that's what you're kind of getting at when you say like have a stable career, have a lot of money coming
Yeah, I
in.
mean, it used to be the case, right? Like right after World War II, the economy was booming, right? Like jobs were like first of all, population wasn't as crazy. Like the economy was just booming. Houses were just in rapid production rate. It could be that like the dollar was backed up by. I mean, when did the dollar stop being backed up by gold?
Let me look that up in the background. Hang on.
Yeah,
Let's see.
but I mean, the fact that like World War II is the end of the war. They defeated the bad guys, and America established itself as the fucking dominant powerhouse, right? So it's like the dollar was just so much stronger back then, right?
The U.S. dollar stopped
Um,
being backed by gold in 1971 when President Richard Nixon announced the end of the dollar converting to gold, effectively ended the gold standard.
yeah, like the dollar was backed up. The dollar actually meant something back then. The dollar means nothing now. The dollar literally like it's backed up by just fucking bonds, right? It's just backed up by like the government saying, "Hey, we are capable of doing this." But like literally like American debt right now has gone so out of control that countries aren't buying our debt anymore. people aren't financing American debt. They want nothing to do with it. Like it's fucked. But to go back to the original point, yeah, like it used to be that you can pick up a construction job and you can raise a family and do everything you could ever imagine with just one household income. Now it's like you need both parties to work, barely get by. You need to pick up multiple jobs, have multiple sources of income because the dollar is just weak and it's weak. It's the economy shit. Houses aren't being built as much. There's a bunch of problems that led up to this. But
Do you think that, because yeah, no, a lot of Americans are, we were just talking about this when I was driving from Home Depot. A lot of Americans have car debt, mortgage debt, credit card debt, personal loan debt. There's a lot of debt that Americans have. There's a lot of debt our country has. And in your honest opinion, I mean, what do you think is, do you think this whole country is going to defaulting on itself one day?
I think private debt's most likely going to be it's private debt's going to become a big concern, right? Like with all these private equity firms just buying out all these properties and shit. I think either one of two things needs to happen. Like it's either the government does some sort of intervention where they legally like they install some like legislation that prevents a private equity like prevents like private equity firms of like amassing so much fucking property value, right, and then reselling it. Similar to like what China's doing, right? They like limit. They have like state mandated laws that limit certain things. They actually have this concept where you're essentially you have to apply for visas and like to exist in different city states, right? It's not like here in America where you can just like move where you want, how you want, stuff like that. Because again, China is like vastly different from here, right? They have like that whole one child policy. So,
So,
um,
if we could circle it back, then would you, in your current, when do you, so with that, all that being said, then do you think then it's only possible for people to have kids like when they are like either a extremely lucky, wealthy families, or when they have amassed the most of their wealth in their mid 30s or late 40s and 50s?
yeah, I think you can reasonably start like thinking about child like starting a family like really post 30s, man. Like I don't see myself starting a family anytime soon,
Because
like
they argue the prime age to start a family is technically around our age. Youthful, we're young, we can move very fast. Our bodies, keep up with a child in terms of running, playing. If we get hurt, we can recover quicker. We can have more
yeah, but you
sleep
have to also
cycles.
think about the financial aspects of it, right? Like
That's true.
I wouldn't want to subjugate my child to a life that's shittier than my current standard of living. And I'd say that my current standard of living is pretty fucking shit. Well, I mean, at least to what I gauge as a good standard, but it's just
Because as a parent, you would want your kids to have a better
yeah. I
life
mean,
than you.
that should go without saying, right? You want to be able to give your child a better experience of life than you are, right? Because like you're in a sense you're reliving your childhood days in your own, like you're seeing it in real time. So like imagine if you're able to give your child the things that you never had. I mean, it's a level of happiness and that it's really hard to even recreate, which is why I think that's a good argument for starting families and in general, right? It's like to be able to give that, but again, it requires a lot of work and a lot of meticulous planning. And I personally think this is a hot take, but everyone, I think the right to start like to bear children, to like actually have kids, should be earned, not given. It shouldn't be like a assumed right.
That is a fucking hot take. Bro, I think most of the, I think some of the most oppressive regimes in history actually prevented people from having kids. Like you had to meet a threshold to do so. I think, uh, because
That's
it's interesting you say that because what's happening right now, and I want to maybe look at the other side of this. People are having kids in these environments where it may not be the best. So yeah, we're talking about the one bedroom apartments or two bed apartments in the maybe it's a modest apartment, $1,200 rent. That has a playground. They are able to get SNAP benefits. They're able to get obviously mothers. They have what is it? What's that government benefit that helps with mothers who are young and have kids and pregnant? Like I think in certain states in the South, if you have a child, I don't know if you know this. I think Tennessee, Alabama for sure have this. If you have a kid and you're a mother and you're at a certain income threshold, the entirety of that childbearing process is completely paid for from like everything, all the treatments, all the screenings, delivery, because it's all paid for by the government, and obviously, we get federal tax
yeah,
credits.
but this doesn't take into account intention, right? Like most of these like most I don't know. I'd hope to God that like these single mothers aren't intentionally getting pregnant and trying to reap the benefits of these government
From
programs. But
my
my
experience,
inkling,
yeah,
I know, yeah, but let me just interject. From how human nature is like, from just existing, like and seeing how humans will always choose the path of least resistance. Um, so I'm personally anti-humanist. Like I have a strong, like I despise our species. I think um I think we need to cull the population, and I mean I'm including myself into the picture, right? I don't think I'm like a perfect fucking person. I'm actually pretty much a pretty shitty person, right? Just like from an objective standpoint, I've made mistakes before. We all have, right? But it's just like humans are shit. Okay, like there's a reason why this Earth is reacting and changing so drastically due to our fucking parasitic effects on it, right? Like pre-industrial revolution, you know, like we literally like for reference to the folks watching, I'm from the city. There's literally studies on how the fucking city rats are just evolving completely different from like how regular rats are,
are you
right?
serious?
Just like yeah, I mean they're fucking. Have you seen the New York City rats, man? They're fucking mutants, dude. Just like some teenage mutant ninja
Looking it
turtle
up on the
shit. Like you just
side.
have Master Splinter everywhere, bro. Like
I'm gonna look this up too. Let me see
the
something.
sheer amount of human waste that these rats are capable of. They're adjusting
Holy
to
shit!
eating human waste, right? Like there's studies on this.
New York City rats can carry different variants. How the fuck find rats right now? Wow, that is crazy. May probably need to blur some of this. Who knows? But okay. Uh, well, from my experience, a lot of people who have children, I have from what I have seen from high school to now, have been completely unplanned. Or oops, and they just happen. And
Mhm.
we can you this could I'm not trying to definitely take this into a pro life pro choice. I'm definitely not trying to go down that route. But obviously a lot of people go down the they just have the baby, and so a lot of it is unplanned. I'm kind of curious of your perspective there.
Mhm.
Because it's a hot one, it's pretty much saying like, hey, like, you know, maybe that is a pro choice question. I have no idea. It probably is, and if that's the case, you definitely don't have to answer. But you seem to be you don't seem to be afraid of any of the hot takes right now.
Say I'll say whatever well I'll say what I can, but
You say you'll say what you can.
I mean, I think the idea of like having um
I have a take.
preventative measures. Yeah, you go ahead.
I personally would have so much anxiety, so much fear accidentally getting someone pregnant when I'm physically not in a financial state to do so. Because for me, as a man, I consider all the financial implications of having a child. It terrifies me. Yeah, there's a lot of resources to help families out who have children. I get that. I think it's just, I mean, I think the article said, like, hey, are you doomed for financial ruin if you have a child and you're not ready for it? No, but, like, I'm just be transparent. I don't have, like, mountains of savings I could just tap into to, like, not go to work for, like, a year to be with my son or daughter, right? That's, like, the best case scenario, right? Just be able to be, because, like, I think for me is a combination of wanting to make sure the child has a parent there with them instead of being relying on daycare. That's just me. I think I'm very conservative in that mindset where, like, I think that there should be a parent at home with a child during those early stages of the growth and development. I remember having that growing up. I don't really remember being in daycare that much. I was to a certain extent. Both my parents did have to work, but, like, I remember the childhood being good. I was able to have the things I wanted. We went on vacations, and I'm not really seeing that a lot. My dad had me at 23 years old, and I'm now thinking, wow, at 23, I was not ready to have a kid. I was still living with my family technically, more or less, just in college, trying to finish up my college education. Um, so yeah, it's interesting when you put it that way because, like, I truly don't know. Like, I'm terrified. Like, I feel like the moment I would be ready for a kid is if I would be making at least $150,000 to $200,000 grossly, right, a year. But at that point, you're still in the paycheck to paycheck, like, scenario, and you're just only really able to finance. Like, people finance medical bills for kids and stuff, and once you hit that income bracket, excuse me, once you hit that income bracket, I don't think a lot of government programs that you would help most of these people who are trying to have kids even apply to them anymore.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's scary, man. Like, I don't know the statistics of how many families are struggling, and I think it's I I, I remember there was this one person who lived in not the greatest area, but they had a kid. They had to have family members watch her kid, and she had a job at Burger King. It's just like, how do you support a family with that?
Yeah, that sounds. I couldn't. I can't imagine being in that situation. I think there's a lot of cultural, a lot of like outside factors in play that like lead to situations like that, and it's like it's a hard problem. It's really hard to like find the fix for that. But I think, well, first of all, that whole 150 to 200 growth. I mean, that does vary from state to state. But I
That's
mean,
true.
you know, um,
Well, I say that, so, like, I say that value.
I think the ability. So I think the ability to just have preventive measures to prevent preventive measures against unplanned childhood is a good thing. Um, just objectively. Um, because you'll end up in situations where, again, like you'll end up with people, essentially starting families or introducing, like families when they're not financially ready for it. And it's just, I think that overall adds more suffering, more bad than good. And if the idea is to reduce bad, if the idea is to produce more good in the world than bad, then I think that's a good thing, right? To prevent unplanned pregnancies.
Well,
You can't control people's like desires.
you can't. You
So
can't. Yeah. Damn. Sounds like we're just fucked overall with just how much everything's are going up. I mean,
yeah, I think we live in a dystopia. I mean, I have a very like pessimistic view of the world, but I truly believe we live in a dystopia, which is why I enjoy reading other sorts of fictions that are taking place in different time periods, because it's like no matter what time period you're at, you can be set in the in the cyberpunk future or like in the medieval times, you'll still find the same shit, the same filth, right? The same dystopian evil nature of like
so yeah, we're
humanity.
broke, we're in debt. I get that, but I guess I want to ask you then the question: do you not agree that maybe from a comfort standpoint and peace standpoint, that we are probably in some of the best times in human history, though, of what we are producing capable of when we look at
Yeah, I
agriculture?
mean, life expectancy has drastically raised. We're capable of buying. We have all our necessities met. We have food, water, shelter. In exchange of just one. So you're able to get all your amenities in exchange of one piece of paper, basically, money, like a dollar. Like if you just you get money, you can just essentially supply yourself with everything you'd ever need and want. Um, but I
Because
do think that I think I think humans were not meant to exist this way though, because it just introduces a whole different can of worms. Like I think our physiognomy was not made in a way that was not constructed in a way that was meant for modern standard living.
it's yeah, it's interesting because like if you think about it comparatively, you're living better than a king was in the 1500s. Right now,
Yeah,
I mean, you have access to a lot of things that we would has yeah. I mean, you get where I'm going with that. It's interesting because one one could look at it as like what's going to be more important, making sure you're comfortable or making sure you can have everything you want, right? I mean, I
yeah.
think
There's this whole topic of like once you have your physical, then people start thinking about needs outside, like greater desires, right? Like why is depression still so prevalent, considering the fact that we live in an age where it's like basically not as many people, like starvation is, people aren't starving and aren't, they're not like they have their physical needs met. Well, it's because there's that one psychologist thing, I forgot what it's called, but essentially there's something there. Humans require inherent meaning for their existence, and the modern way of life has sort of kind of gives people, or it has inhibited people, like the fact that people aren't spending most of their days just working towards having their physical needs met in terms of like farming and hunting gathering and shit gives more people time to think about something inherently meaningful to their existence, which is what religion tries to like answer, right? But technology has
technology, what like
kind of interfered with that, right? With the advancement of technology and stuff,
I
people don't really
you know
have
what
the need for.
I think this is a good segue then. We were just talking about this new there's this robotics company. I'm forgetting the name, but they of what they are. They're based in California, of course. They've just produced a robot that I think is going to be commercially available very, very soon. Like we're talking $20,000. I think roughly is. I mean, that's a car. anyone can finance 20K with like a simple job, right? 60, 50, whatever. That's like a car payment. We're going to watch this live because you're going to be seeing this for the first time. I saw this last night. What you're seeing is 100% real because it's to combat Tesla's Optimus. It's called Figure One. And Figure 03, sorry. It's their launch trailer. So 6 minutes. I think we should live react to this. I think you're gonna love what you see. So let's play it. We can pause whenever if you're curious.
Yeah.
This is gonna piss you off when you see it because there's a part of this video where the music like stops and it just shows the robot just doing things. It's supposed to literally be a household robot. Like, check it out. I don't feel like I know what you're thinking right now. Alright, here it goes. This is just basic home testing now.
From an engineering perspective, and this is extremely like impressive. I'm interested in like the tech.
Trust I am too. They have a lot of open positions.
I wonder how the training data was collected.
I mean, like, I'm watching this thinking about, like, dude, like, in a couple of years, maybe, like, 10 years, like, these could be very common in, like, maybe mid-American to upper-class people's houses. You know what I mean? And so, what else? I mean, is this just more of an excuse to get us to work more? Or, like, would this maybe lead to us working less? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just...
Yeah, it's, I think... There's like multiple arguments. Like they say that like with the advancement of tech and stuff like that, or this idea of just like having universal basic income, like AI has basically taken over all the jobs to the point where people can now just focus on arts and stuff like that. But there will always be ways to control the masses.
I'm watching thinking like think about how many jobs though, like, and there's a lot that I want to say about this. What you probably just seen could eliminate so many basic labor jobs: cooking, cleaning, think about it, hotel industry, room cleaning, shit, man, like. I mean, it's learning how to operate. At the end, I think they show it inside of the Amazon warehouse. That was the freakiest.
It's time to fucking go back to our roots and to live off the land, man.
I think it's crazy because there's a built-in camera too that you can like take a Skype from.
That's how it's able to do anything. I mean, it needs a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. OCR object.
This is insane.
Folding laundry.
Well, of course, it won't be perfect.
But I mean, like, this is it right now. Like, I'm thinking, like, fuck, man, like, how complex this shit is getting. I mean, we were just talking about how, like, ChatGPT 5 is how good it's getting. Like, here's another example. Whole check-in services. You know, think about how, like, what Elon's doing with self-driving cars. Imagine, like, you have, like, these robots, you know, doing that type of work. Think about FedEx, UPS drivers. This is one I thought was crazy at this warehouse. Like, dude, it's like, I can 100% see Amazon trying to do something like this.
Yeah. Gonna cut off a lot of jobs, man.
I think it ends right here. Yeah. I think this.
You know what the comments are like?
Look at the robot. I need one of those houses. Mom showed him put popcorn in the sink. It's gonna be so weird looking back into it 50 years from now. People are like, "Oh, look how it started. They were so simple and adorable back then." Okay, but why the scary thunder music? Is this the start of a horror film? Man, this era is the craziest time to be alive. Reddit 10 years. I just sold my robot and I already feel so much better. Wow, rich people now have able to go to life without seeing poor people. They specifically give it negative.
Can you send me this video?
Yeah, I got you.
When did this video come out? Like just a few days ago?
3 days ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll 100% say it to you. But yeah, no, I thought it was really interesting, man. Being a nerd myself. I get excited seeing tech like this, but like fuck, man. I just think about people who just don't have the education. Like my stepdad made a really good argument with self-driving cars and like technology like this. Historically, this isn't new. When we went from horse carriages to the automobile, a lot of people thought, jobs with horse making, horse polishing, or hoof making they would just lose their jobs, which they did, but we needed more jobs. Manufacturing a whole bunch of parts for
humans will always be needed for stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like, because that was the argument, right? Like a new industry that takes off to make our lives easier. There could be an industry that ends up needing more jobs that gets created for that. Maybe AI ethics training or robot training or a good example I can think of is right now, Tesla. This is the best example I can think of. Tesla created a whole bunch of jobs because they needed safety operators in their self-driving robo-taxis in Dallas right now. And so basically they have people, let me see if I can find it right quick. But they have, there's operators in these Tesla vehicles just to sit and watch like the car, and they created a whole type of jobs, a whole bunch of jobs. They had a whole like job fair in Dallas just for people to come in and do this job where basically you just had to like sit in the car and just watch the vehicle. Let's see if I can find it for you so I can share and talk about, because I don't think you've seen this either. See if I can find a quick one. Is this one from there's usually one if I could see if I can find it. Oh, wait. Okay, perfect. I found one actually. It's a short, but it'll have to do. But basically, like this guy here is just considered a safety operator. And like his only like goal is just to sit here and just like patrol the vehicle. But like, you know, a whole bunch of jobs is created with that, and like it's just funny seeing really where this technology is going. Um, but I thought it was interesting because you mentioned dystopia, how we should return to our roots. So it seems like you are on the cups of thinking, hey, like we shouldn't even be like going this far. A lot of people think that. A lot of people think that we shouldn't be going this far with technology. A lot of people think that we should be stopping, slowing down, quitting, um, getting rid of technology because a lot of people believe that we have just gone too far in our technological advancements to the point where like I mean you have people who worry about like hey are we going to hit the singularity soon where technology advances to a point where it's we can't control it or stop it. You have people who think that we're very close to that. You have some people think we're hundreds of years from that happening. But what's your perspective on that?
I think until we can sort of define what consciousness is and figure out what that is, because inevitably, again, AI is AI, right? It's incapable of thinking. It's again, it trains on data, right? It's only the way it functions is that it's governed by just rules, right? Inevitably, it's just governed by rules. It's incapable of doing things outside of its own system. But it's like if you have, because like the whole like argument for like agentic systems where you have like agents learning off of other agents, and then you like apply that recursively, then maybe at some point you're able to like build up to some sort of system that's conscious in a way, I guess, right? I mean, hard to really know.
So do you think it's gonna be possible? Because like right now, right, a lot of these AI systems, right, you like you said, they are trained off data. It's machine learning, but they will market like, hey, thinking, reasoning. Now, do you is your more argument saying, hey, that's just part of the machine learning itself, or are you saying like we're still haven't got to a point where like artificial intelligence systems are experiencing signs of actual intelligence in terms of like what's what makes human human? You know, like you said,
It could never. I
consciousness.
don't. It's a very. It's very far from that. And it is only there are like if you look at specific aspects of like what makes a human, right? Like the just the intelligent, like the act of learning, right? AI is like obviously like supersedes that by like such a faster degree, right? It's able to like teach itself and learn pretty quickly, right? But there's like controls like set up in a way that it's like incapable of it like escaping outside of what it's governed to do, right?
Do you
At the end
think?
of the day, it's governed by training data.
Do you think AI is impacting politics?
Yeah, it's having a major impact on how the markets are acting right now and all of that. It's like the next big thing, right?
I think
I
that's
mean,
a,
they're implementing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, are you like afraid of it or not really?
Am, am I what?
Are you like afraid of AI and how it's progressing?
Makes day to day stuff easy, right? Like if I have a question, I mean, I'm afraid of like other implications that may arise because of AI, right? It's like you have people like literally treating it like there's definitely going to be like cults and shit, like religions born out of this, out of the idea of like following AI or whatever.
Oh, are you
I
familiar
think,
with people who are having relationships with AI?
yeah, I've heard that. Like, I mean, because at the end of the day, it's just working on training data. It's not. It's just it like it's just a better version. Like before the internet was a thing, you would like if you had a question, you would just go to a book or something. Now we're like when we were growing up, you would just Google it. Now you Google it, and AI would just give you a summed up version of what it can find on the internet. It's again, it's just it's regurgitated information at the end of the day. It's not like it's the end all be all, right? It's just a faster way of conveying information. And so I think relying on something that's just I think people are just taking it to a next level, thinking like it's some fucking something greater than it actually is, which is really I mean it's marvelous in its own right, but it's not it just makes life it makes querying and understand things a lot more faster, right? But it's by no means something that you can replace and sort of see as an actual person. It's nothing more than just a tool at the end.
You know that's interesting. So
But I
you
think the personification, I think with the way it responds and learns from how you interact, it gives people an inkling as to think that it's something greater than what it actually is the problem. And so you end up people unfortunately relying on it. And you have to remember that these companies that produce these AI models collecting a shit ton of data on you,
oh
on everybody.
100%, 100%. So if you was to ballpark it, how far then do you think we are getting from any type of model, transformer or whatever, being sentient?
Well, just to
Years,
let you know, like
decades?
Transformers are just like it's one mechanism of how like these agentic systems function,
Oh,
right?
right,
But
right, right.
and also sentience. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know too much about machine learning to really speak on exactly that, but I think it'll take a while.
I think you could argue it could be a philosophical question as well.
Again, this goes back to like my whole concept of like what conscientiousness is, right? Like this whole idea of like I think once I think like this whole idea of like having an AI create sub AIs and learning from it and then creating a model which is superseding its previous predecessor. I think if an agentic system is capable of doing that on itself, then it's on a good path towards learning more about what it actually is, right? Because in that sense, it's like it's able to like improve itself on something that it once was before. Similar to how evolution is like. When you think about evolution, life really originated from like single cell. They were just single
That's
celled
true. That's
organisms,
true.
and one thing led to another, and it. But I think until it becomes the act of it actually becoming aware of that, I don't think is even possible. I think there's something innately
Preventing that barrier from being
precious.
crossed.
Yeah, again, there's something innate to conscientiousness that like science needs to like delve more on, right? Really uncover. I don't know. That's like more of like a
It's
philosophical
yeah,
answer,
it's
but
definitely feels.
I think the closest you can get to is just like it really just being able to improve itself better on its counterparts. Just
I mean, shit, man. I mean, people go to college and write theses and dissertations for this type of stuff. I mean, yeah, ethics people, philosophical people, people in programming, developers, manufacturing, computer science people. They're all chiming in about this stuff. There's a lot of different opinions people have regarding the use of AI technology, and like to your point, where are we going and how we would like proceed into the future with this stuff, right? It's truth be told, like who knows what like things will end up taking place. And yeah, I think we could transition from doom and gloom. Um, so this is maybe the one off topic I really want to ask you. Do you go to buffets?
Not all the time. I go to like all you can eat places, which is a distinction.
Though, are those type of places the ones where like there's food out, you got to go and just
No,
Why are you
I can't.
smiling?
I can't do buffets, man.
I love buffets, but like I know they're kind of gross. I was I was at a buffet a couple weeks back, man, and it was empty, right? It was kind of empty. It was very quiet, and so I'm looking at the food, man. Everything's like it just looks lifeless. Like everything's like really squishy, and they had sushi out. They had sushi, right? And I remember we have a good friend named Kyle. He said sushi at a buffet is one of the most disgusting things you can ever eat. I was eating some of the sushi, man, and it just felt, I felt like I was committing a crime. And like, I remember the night and the day over, dude, like everything just went out of me, man. Like it was,
Yeah. Oh God.
and so how they say like food buffets, the food is just left out for hours. You have no idea who's maybe coughing in it, how many hands are you
Someone could have.
touching.
Yeah. Someone could have picked it up, put it back.
It's apparently really gross, and I just I was just thinking, just like, but man, dude, it's just like
Cheap.
buff. It's cheap, and buffets are like some of the type of foods where like it's so gross sometimes. Like buffets can be so goddamn gross, so goddamn nasty. But it's just like, man, dude. It's just like one of those type of foods where like, man, dude, like I just feel guilty eating it, but like at the same time, it's like a good type of guilt. You're like, man, dude, I should not be eating this. It's like that. It's like you should not be eating this shit, but like you do it anyway. And like for me, man, like I know I'm gross eating it. Like I know
Gas
I'm gross.
station food.
Oh yeah, no gas station
You
dog
must
roll.
love your.
Like,
You must love your gas station food, huh?
dude, I swear to God, dude, like, I gotta, yo, dude, like, look at this shit. Like, does this not look appetizing to you? No, not really. The rolling
Oh man,
grills, this
I'm good,
just
man.
rolling, and I just,
Festering.
dude, like. Oh my god, man! The gas station food is like really, really bad. It's like I don't even know what. Oh my god! Yeah, it's gross, man. It's fucking gross. But like, I had some gas station pizza last week that was just sitting out in like a little heated, like little tray area, man. And like, it tasted
Horrible,
good.
dude.
It tasted good, but like, it's like one of those foods. I was like, bro, I should not be eating this. It's like, and plus, it was
And you
like
still do, anyways.
yeah, yeah, I do. I excuse me, I need a lunch and I'm just like, fuck man. Like I just can't get over that shit sometimes, bro. I just can't.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say, are it's a whole. I don't even know if I want to get into this, but it's like America's diet and the food we eat and the things we consume.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
industrial. It's a whole industry, right?
you look at the arguments when it comes to like soys and different oils like that we use, like vegetable oil, how we're not using regular fats anymore. We everything's
Yeah,
getting
it's
cheaper. How like a bag of chips can be cheaper than some broccoli. Um, like I was at Walmart a couple of days ago, and I can't remember what it was, man. But like, I love Caesar salad. Caesar salad is one of my best. They had this box of make or bag of make your own Caesar salad. It was like $4 for maybe a bag this big of like Caesar salad, and makes like two portions. And then like on the other side, they had like a 4 pound bag of like Tyson chicken nuggets for like $2.99. And I'm just like, and I'm just like, fuck, man, like, people like,
some radioactive nuggets, man. Those are not nuggets, man.
like, I
Like
mean,
fucking. I think so. I think we need to make a separate distinction between the quality of food and the frequency of what people are eating. There's a big distinction between so the cheaper, shittier foods are calorically dense, meaning you can eat this shit. It doesn't satiate you, and it has more caloric value. In other words, it's gonna fatten you up more because at the end of the day, it's just about numbers, right? It's just how much you eat versus how much you burn, calories in versus calories out. Healthier foods, and when I say healthier foods, I mean foods that are less calorically dense, actual real food, chicken, beef, rice, right? And the rice, the beef, the chicken, it can, you can get organic this, organic that. Really, at the end of the day, it's all the same shit. Well, not the same shit, but it's like the markup price is slightly higher for organic stuff. But if you just watch if you just stay away from calorically dense foods, and these foods are just all the fucking shelf shit, the shit, right? All the shittier, cheap stuff, you'll
there's
be
an
fine, right?
argument that says that like if you want the most like healthiest foods, which I'm thinking that's what you're saying when you say calorically dense foods, is to shop
No,
on the
no, no.
out.
Calorically dense foods are just foods that have more calories in them and they don't satiate you. Like a Snickers bar is like 300 calories. If I were to take like 3 eggs, a couple bananas, or something, a bunch of like other less calorically dense real food, it would literally be the same and match them up together, do the math, the calories would be the same, but one would take way more volume than the other. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. They say that like if you want to make sure you are eating better, you should shop on the outside the outside on the grocery store. You do what I mean? Like you have like the aisles, but then like on the outside with the produce and the eggs and the
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember doing this like in high school. Like, we had a project where they literally made us go to a fucking key food and do the math and try to collect healthier foods, and you end up actually saving money. Like, it comes out to literally the same or like slightly less, you know? If you're just like shopping for the greens and stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like some, yeah.
do you think there's
I
a
had a
big
whole class about that.
do you think
Yeah.
there's a big difference between frozen and fresh?
Yeah, of course there's a big difference, but I think if you're gonna get into like the nitty gritty nitty gritty of it, like at least the way I do things, I'm just a very extreme person. I limit my calories to a specific time of the day to ensure that I'm just in a caloric deficit. So even if I were to eat like shittier foods, I'd still be fine. I'd still be lean. I try not to eat shittier foods because there's two sides of it. There's the calories, which at the end of the day, your body really just it's all about a numbers game. You're trying to lose weight. And then there's also the actual macronutrients like your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. As long as I'm trying to meet all three, right? Um, so
I think, and we could probably get into this segue because I know you want to talk a lot about this. We got time. If you got time, um, for people out there who maybe run the issue of like, oh, I can't afford to eat healthy. They just got to eat whatever's like takeout or you know, going to get Chinese food or you don't want to do some maker. You do have some shit to say. Like, what do you
I can't stand Chinese food, man.
what,
It messes me up, man.
like? What do you have to say to people who are like, you know, trying to lose weight and want to get better a lot? And we could probably definitely segue into your climbing stories and advice and kind of videos and all that too.
I would just say try to limit, like start with replacing a meal with a salad, right? Um, Try to eat more fruits and vegetables, drink a lot of water, avoid calorically dense foods, right? So avoid things that take up more calories and that won't satiate you more, right? Eat more real food, right? Don't eat garbage crap. Like the problem is just like people have built up a habit. This is why I dislike eating like specific foods. Like just this is why I hate breaking my habits because the moment I break it, it's very. I mean, it's we're all habitual creatures. Like if if you train if you literally if I were to just like take a human and just like force them to eat McDonald's every day, like they're just gonna get used to it. They're not gonna like they're not gonna it's gonna be so hard for them to fucking stop eating that shit. Like so I just avoid it all entirely. Really, it's just if you have the discipline, you either do it or you don't, and that's just really how what it comes down to, honestly. Like do it or you don't. Um,
You do if you don't. That's
yeah, yeah.
do you think it's more important than for people to just calorie count or just make sure they're getting any type of physical exertion in their lives?
I think both helps, but ultimately it does come down to just calorie count. To be honest with you, it's just all your calories. The way I am an extreme person. I don't count my calories. I just eat once a day, and that meal is like it's not enough to cover all 3 meals in a day. It's enough to maybe cover one and a half.
So you kind of have like a heavy dinner every day, right? Not
Yeah, I'd say
semi-heavy,
so.
semi-heavy.
Yeah,
But now I know it took you time to like kind of get used and accustomed to that. Like it was a transition. Most people will probably
yeah,
have hunger pains because most people are eating on a schedule: breakfast, lunch, dinner. You know,
yeah.
so you more do you even when you're eating once a day, do you still eat at a certain time, or do you only eat your one meal a day when you're hungry, hungry?
No, I eat my 1 meal a day when I finish my training, after work, that type of thing. I do have coffee throughout the day, so I am sort of kind of getting some calories in, but coffee is I don't consider that substantial enough.
He's like because you and it keeps you awake energy wise. I'm guessing, or do you like could you have the same amount of sustained energy throughout the day without coffee?
That would be hard to. I've conditioned myself to rely on coffee, unfortunately. So
That makes sense.
it's one vice that I hard to fix, but
Well, I mean, right now, I mean, I know you want to. We could probably close out with this, because I know we're looking at like an hour. But so you are a climber, and I know you want to kind of talk about it, kind of share some videos and some
Pretty shitty
thoughts.
climber, but yeah, a climber nonetheless. Yeah.
What do you? I mean, it's up to you how you want to do it because I know this is very special to you. I can't climb for shit. I would probably just watch some of the videos you sent me. I'll give my commentary how well I could probably do in any of those. But why did you get into climbing?
Yeah. So I got into climbing last, like, sort of close, like last August. Um. So I'd say if I were to count my actual, like, my raw training, I've been climbing for like maybe like a year and some change, but like actual training, like less than a year. Because I injured myself already a couple times. Um, but I got into climbing particularly because of this one manga called Koku no Hito, which literally translates to the climber. And the story fascinated me so much and inspired me so much to get into it. Ultimately, to get into mountaineering, um, which I want to do more frequently. And I've been really thinking about how to like alter my life in such a way that can allow that goal to become a reality. To live, breathe mountaineering. But for now, I'm just focused on actually building the skills necessary for just climbing in general, like building up my tendons, um, building up the strength necessary for it, right? Upper body strength and the technique and such before I get into outdoors climbing. Because I know outdoor climbing is going to be significantly harder than indoors. So I'm just playing the long game. Um, but yeah, it's an amazing sport. It's something that just intrigues me really because it's not it's not one dimensional compared to like powerlifting and other sort of things that I used to do in high school and such. But um,
You mentioned you've injured yourself. Can you talk about that?
oh yeah, yeah. So I got like a couple. So we have like so in your hands, right? You have a bunch of tendons that get connected to your muscles, right? Your finger flexor muscles, your forearm muscles. Particularly in your fingers here, there's like tendons called the pulleys, like your pulley tendons, which kind of act like a feather. So it's like when you like sort of bend like this. Essentially, it connect your tendon connects to the bone into the actual muscle tissue. And I just exerted myself a bit too much on my pulley here and just got a slight strain here in this pulley, here in this pulley.
Did any of the videos
They
you?
healed.
Oh, go ahead. Go
Say that
ahead,
again.
Sal. No, please finish.
Oh, no, no, I mean, they've healed, but I do have some slight tendinopathy, which is another sort of pain, not on the pulley itself, but, like, on the bone, like, on the edge here, which, I mean, I'm sure it's not as bad as a pulley injury necessarily, but I've sort of accepted that, like, injuries I mean, maybe, like, a physical therapist would disagree, but I've just accepted that in order for me to become strong, I'm gonna have to get injured. So
So but is there anything you could do to prevent those injuries from happening?
yeah, 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 just not climb as hard and not climb as much, but um, and to probably do less. But
You want to keep
well,
pushing yourself forward.
yeah,
So I got the four videos, and I guess I could just go them up one by one. Um, and maybe you can kind of
pretty
like
embarrassing.
maybe you can talk, and I'll keep them looping. I'll just make sure they're looping. So give me a second.
Yeah, so this is like Yep. Oh my god, that was such a horrible start by me.
Why was it a
Okay,
horrible
this one I
start?
failed. Well, so this board is called the tension board. Essentially, like teaches you, it's literally in the name. It's trained. It's made in a way that it's supposed to train your tension, i.e., like how well you can stick on the wall. As you can see here, I read the route extremely wrong. Um, right there when I fell. So the beginning here, the start, I'm supposed to like push. See how like my foot sort of flipped off?
It's almost like
I
yeah,
was
you're
just like,
following the colors.
yeah, yeah. So the green colors, you're supposed to follow the colors. The blue holds are where you're supposed to navigate. The red represents where you end. The green represents where you start, and then the pinkish purple is where you're supposed to use your feet. Um,
So
but you
like,
see here,
are
yeah.
you like engaging like throughout all of this? Are you like engage? And maybe I could just go to the second one then. So are you like how many muscles are like you're engaging majority of your entire body doing this, right?
Yeah, this is a full body workout. This is it's mostly strain mostly on your fingers, your feet, your back, your shoulders, a bunch of stuff. Um, right?
And like
So there's a,
before you were able to get in like for example, hold in a position like this, like how much do you have to do like a lot of powerlifting? Like how much pre training does someone have to do before they can get into climbing like
you
this?
can get into climbing as is. I'm like it's actually funny. You don't need to train to be a good climber. Well, you do, but like because the thing with climbing is that it's very like weight oriented. So like the lighter you are, the easier, the less strength you'd need, right, per pound of body weight to be able to hold on to it. And you can leverage a lot of things using good technique and good body positioning, right? Um,
So another question I have then is like when I watch you do this, um, damn, I'm I'm just wondering like I'm not gonna lie, I probably cannot get myself up as of right now. I feel like I just have too much weight to like even like. I'm assuming everyone in this gym is not like heavy set. There's no one heavy set doing any of this stuff.
yeah, it's gonna be extremely heavy for or extremely hard for someone to. I was thinking to like to honestly drop some weight as well to just leverage. Um, but my whole thing is I want to become really strong so that I can just yeah here this is just I'm just this is 85 pounds. I'm trying to do this for 3 reps. I'm just trying to be as explosive as possible. Um, this was supposed to be like RPE, which stands for reps of perceived exertion. So it's like the idea where it's like you're trying to gauge how much effort this set was, right? I was trying to aim for a RPE of 6 out of 10, which means essentially if I were to keep going, I would be able to do 4 more reps at this weight,
He
right?
said that's 85 pounds.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But I mean, upon watching, I mean, it felt like an RP 6.5 to 7, but looking at it, I mean, I feel like I'm going slow, but that's also because I'm trying to slam the bar against my chest.
And what's the point of slamming the bar against your chest?
Well, like it just I mean, if it, like it's harder, number 1. Um, right? Like a pull up just constitutes your chin over the bar, but like if I'm slamming the bar against my chest, and that means I'm pulling a lot harder, and I'm generating a lot of force. And I think generating a lot of force in climbing is very important. But the thing in climbing is that the holds are usually really shit. So, oh yeah, in this video here, in tandem with trying to become a better climber, I'm also trying to unlock a bunch of calisthenics movements. Here I'm just training uh the um the front lever, but I have the regular front lever. The form is just really bad. So here I'm trying to train a progression, which is this is called the tucked one, or I guess it's considered an advanced tuck. The idea is to like keep my hips at the same level, right? I really just want to like have good form. Um, this is also a full body movement as well, mostly engaging your lats, your
I was gonna say,
core.
like, do you are engaging a lot doing this? Like, Christ, man, holy shit.
Yeah, so I kind of so the way I train is kind of retarded. I probably do a lot. I probably have really good my body has definitely like responded negative like has I mean it's I'm trying to do a bunch of things in parallel. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's what I want, so
Well, I mean, hopefully when you especially as we do more episodes and if you're back on for sure, like, dude, you got to keep sharing more stories. I know you even talked about going to you briefly touched on wanting to be a firefighter. I mean, you got the strength and training.
I do, but I don't think a certain someone would want me to do that. So, well, maybe, but
Oh, I already see where you're going with that. Yeah, my girlfriend said that if I go join ICE, she would break up with me. So I not that I would want to be with ICE or anything.
yeah,
But I think we're good. We're at like an hour and 18, so
yeah,
I think
it's
it's
a
good
good.
to wrap it up. Well, thank you everyone for joining, watching, or listening to this another episode of the workshop. We're going to try our best to get these more out frequently. Try to stick to a weekly cadence if we can. There's no guarantee. Who knows? But
I think we can do it.
I think we can. Hopefully, we could get Jamon in. Jamon and you or others have a quad cast or a trio cast. Like
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking for. More people, the better. Just bouncing off each other. Like I think that'd be hilarious. But as
definitely.
always, check out the other episodes. Drop a comment, like whatever. Just show your support. We all appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Anything else to say, so?
Oh, that's all. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to hopefully being on these episodes.
All right. Awesome. All right. Peace, everybody.